What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube. And today I've got another edition of The Drive-In, where I watch recently released horror films and tell you guys whether they're worth watching, worth waiting for, or worth skipping altogether. I want to tell you guys ahead of time, I've turned off all of the fans and ACs, so it's very, very hot in my house. So if I have trouble breathing and I have to pause a lot, you'll understand why. But I had to bear the heat today to bring you guys a review of possibly my favorite horror film so far of 2022, and definitely my favorite unexpected gem. This movie right now is battling between 1 and 2 right now as far as my favorite horror films of the entire year, and I found this one on a whim on Shudder. I was watching the Joe Bob Briggs last drive-in, shout out to the Mutant Fam, and I saw a trailer for this movie and it looked amazing, so I decided to watch it. It is 2022's Revealer. Came out in 2021 in the festival circuit and officially debuted about 2 weeks back in 2022. Revealer is written by Luke Boyce, Michael Marseille, and Tim Seeley, and directed by Luke Boyce. And it is starring Kato Ace as Angie and Shayna Shruten as Sally. And Revealer is an allegorical tale about, a sex worker, a stripper, who comes across a religious zealot, and they get stuck together in the apocalypse and have to survive despite their religious differences, their personal differences. They are diametrically opposed. One person is a big time religious zealot who's very holier than thou and very kind of snooty about her upbringing and kind of judges others. And the character of Angie is a sex worker who has been down on her luck and who is very kind of forward and open about her sexuality and very in-your-face personality. And these two get stuck in a biblical sort of apocalypse where they have to rely on each other to survive. I believe it's a Shudder original from Luke Boyce, who was very excited to get this on Shudder. And I've been coming across and talking to Luke Boyce over the last couple of days because of how much I love the movie. I had to seek him out on Twitter and tell him what a good job he did, and he's been very receptive to the criticism and the praise and the fans, and he's been very, very cool. So just props to him and his team for being so outreaching about this film. But it runs an hour and 26 minutes. It does not overstay its welcome, and not only is it fast in the runtime, but the pacing is really, really good. I couldn't take my eyes off this. I was not scrolling. I was not looking away. I was not thinking ahead. I was watching this shot for shot as it was written. The number one note that I have written down about this hour and 26 minute movie that honestly I could have used more of. I might have been too short because of how much I enjoyed it. But the number one note that I wrote down was characters. I love the characters. There are only two main characters and a couple of background people here, but the two main characters, acted out by Kato Ace as Angie and Shayna Shruten as Sally, are very well developed. If we're going to spend time with a minimalist cast, and you're going to have a small cast in a confined space, you have to flesh out the individual characters, why they're there, what their stories are, and how they interact with each other. The chemistry has to be there, and the character backgrounds have to be there, and this was phenomenal. In the first 5 minutes of the movie, you see the differences in these two characters, and you see how they interact the one time they actually interact. It is wonderful. Kato Ace here as Angie is the main character. She's got so much charisma and natural personality. She is your typical badass, F off, don't mess with me. I can be feminine and sexy and bring the clients in, but I can also kick your ass if I need to. She has this softer side that comes out as the film goes along, and you kind of learn about her tendencies, her family past, kind of some of the way she judges herself, which makes her hard to judge by anybody else. You kind of see where her wrong turns are that gave her this kind of facade of this tougher outer shell that comes out when it needs to. But you also see her love for, I think it's her nephew or her cousin that she watches over, someone that she wants to get back to in case the apocalypse lasts longer, some family history that comes out, some sensitivity that comes out that makes her a realistic, layered character. I don't like when they write characters that are too weak, that never find their strength, or that are too strong, that have no vulnerability, because those don't feel realistic. Those are one-note characters. And in this character-driven story, you have to have fleshed out characters. And I feel like Kato Ace is a great final girl. She is a very well layered character that you're interested to find out more about, because her dialogue, and this goes with Luke Boyce and the team's writing, Tim Seeley and Michael Mercay, hope I'm spelling that properly or saying that properly. If not, I apologize, Michael. But Well-written dialogue. The dialogue is snarky, it's fun, it's fast-paced, it's realistic. Everything feels easy to listen to. There's no forced dialogue in there. There's no overwhelming silences unless there needs to be. I like the way it's written, and I feel like Kate Oasis especially shines in this. And then you have Shayna Shruten as Sally, the religious zealot, and she's got layers to her because she starts off as this, I'm better than you because I'm Christian, and I follow God and you don't, so I'm judging you. It's a very hateable character, which plays a nice foil to our main character, but as things go along and they have to rely on each other, it starts out as a forced friendship, but then later becomes something a little more. I'm not going to spoil it here. It's still a new movie. Please go watch it on Shudder right now. It is well worth your time. But Shayna Shruten's character, Sally, also has reasons for her beliefs. She has a family history. She has personal affectations. She has secrets that she's hiding. She has reasons to have this negative, put negative connotations on people. And that's realistic. I've seen people in the handicap community that I've worked with that have done it. I've seen people in the journalist community. They've undergone things in their lives that makes them hardened toward others, or they expect to be ridiculed for certain things, so they ridicule others for that same thing. They project their insecurities onto others, and Sally does this in a way that makes her hateable at first and then likable later, like she's supposed to be. Those are characters that have gone through a journey, not only physically together, but the things they've gone through have made them have a comfort and trust for each other to be able to unveil parts of their past to each other. That is a real relationship with real chemistry. That is how you write dialogue, and that is how you write characters. Well done. Again, I mentioned the minimalism. It's hard to have a kind of one location. It does broaden, but the location they put these guys in, I won't spoil it, is very fun. It's spacious in a way, but also cavernous in a way. And it gives you that feel of like The Descent a little bit. You feel a little bit of like Descent in there. You feel a bunch of things in this movie. There's a lot of layers to kind of what they're basing these locations on for me. Then you look at the score. I think this is meant to be set in the either 70s or 80s. It looks very much and sounds much like an 80s film. You can feel the John Carpenter kind of thing. You can feel the gate a little bit. There's a lot of different kind of, even some Wes Craven, you can feel a lot of inspirations for the score in this. It has that synth track. It has some low undertone vibrations for the tense moments. It sets you in a place where you never know when the antagonist is going to pop up. There's some jump scares, but it doesn't rely on jump scares. It relies on tension because the characters lull you into a sense of either anger, like they're going to fight, or sadness, like they're going through something, and then something jumps out at you. So the score and the jump scare work together very effectively. And even when something doesn't jump out, there's that undertone vibration. There's that low guttural hull that you hear under the score that makes you kind of always on edge. Even when nothing is happening, you're waiting for something to happen, which is what music is supposed to do to accentuate a good horror film, especially one that's set, I believe, in the 80s. Another thing that goes with the 80s very well, and goes even back further than that when you look at Giallo, this brings me to my next point, the coloring. The coloring in general is great, and I mean every aspect of the coloring. There are scenes with layered colors on them that I feel like they're either are LUTs or just layers in the edit. The color correction looks really sharp. The lighting they used on set looks really, really good, and I say these things all in a positive manner. The coloring for this gives you that kind of the bright palettes, and different rooms kind of have different color tones. Sometimes the characters have different color tones that really kind of tell you part of who they are. It kind of gives you a sense of like, okay, this is nicely lit up and it's fun to look at, but also it's got some dark feel to it. So when something happens, it kind of adds to the scare and adds to the enclosed environment in this thing. I am a sucker for neons. I am a sucker for bright giallo colors. I love the Dario Argento, Lamberto Bava, Mario Bava kind of thing, Fulci and all those guys. Big fan of being able to take larger-than-life colors and make them feel legitimate in your world of film to accentuate the story, and this does that very, very well. Big fan of the color correction and the on-set lighting as well. Also, the allegory is really good. When I talk about allegory and I think about modern stories that have come out fairly recently that do biblical stuff well, there aren't too many because it usually either doesn't portray its point very clearly where you're confused, or it beats you over the head with the allegory and makes it all about some kind of statement from one side or the other. This does not do that. This allegory, when I say allegory, I mean biblical stuff. I think of like Mother from Darren Aronofsky, which I loved. That's a Bible story told well. This one is also told well. This one has the allegorical stories of the Bible that happen in different places, and there are different totems and things that you'll notice as you watch it back, which gives this replayability, which is super important because you can watch it more than once and catch a bunch of stuff that you missed the first time. I've seen it twice, and I want to watch it about 10 more times, being somebody who knows the Bible a little bit. But also, in the allegory, you've got both sides. You've got the sinner and the saint character. And they're both unlikable at times for being the way they are. They're both brash and in your face and kind of stuck to their reasoning for a while, and then they become vulnerable, and you see kind of the why on both sides. And then you kind of wish that each person had a chance to be the other person because they wish that on themselves. So it gives you the good and bad to both sides of the religion and still kind of maintains the mystery. It tells you where it's going a little bit without kind of giving anything away, which is really, really nice. Again, the friendship of the two characters goes with the chemistry and the characters I mentioned earlier. They were cast well. They have very good chemistry. So kudos to the casting director, and the acting in this film, it is top notch. And finally, the gore. When they use the gore, it looks really good. I didn't notice a whole lot of CGI, and when it's there, it's brief. I thought a lot of the stuff was practical. They chose good moments to hold back on the gore and not overdo it. When they did use the gore, it gives you a good reason to go back and go, ooh, that was brief, but that was unique, that was cool. I like the gore in this a lot. My only negative to this film, if there is one, this is kind of a personal, I wrote this as a positive / negative, is the outcome. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I kind of wanted more, and that's the sign of good writing and good storytelling. And who knows, hopefully if Luke Boyce is watching this, I'm going to tag him. I hope he does watch this. And I'm not being sponsored. This is not, I'm not doing this for Luke or the team. This is my own personal choice. He didn't even know I was doing this. But I'm going to tag Luke in this, and I hope there is going to be a second movie. I've heard there's going to be comic books about this movie, and I hope it tells more of the story. Because the outcome ended kind of in an upended way that kind of makes you go, ooh, you can kind of choose your own adventure a little bit as to how this ending goes, or you can rely on the Bible to tell that story, or you can hope for another movie, or ascribe your own ending to this. And it didn't give me enough finality for what I wanted to see happen, but that's a personal choice, and I understand why they chose that, and it wasn't necessarily a bad choice, but me as the viewer being so invested, I wanted a little more to me spelled out at the end. So if you like really uniquely lit kind of 80s synth, giallo, LBGTQ character studies with really cool locations and dark music and sound design, I think you're really going to enjoy this. There's a lot to like here. I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10, and it is vying right now in my horror top 10 for 2022 between 1 and 2. This or The Black Phone right now are fighting for my 1 and 2, with X being my third. So some really strong films in there, and it's good to get a Shudder original indie film from a first time on a bigger stage director and writing team that get a chance to break through, because I love Shudder for stuff like this. Thank you, Shudder, for this platform. Thank you to Luke Boyce and the team for giving me something to talk about. This video has been 14 minutes of me talking straight through, and I could talk about this movie over and over again. I've already recommended it to friends. I've already rewatched it. I'm going to watch it again, and I hope there are more films in this series and more films like this in the future. So I encourage Shudder and the indie community to continue writing and playing around and toiling with things like this. 8 out of 10 for me. I loved it. It's among my tops of the year. If you've seen it, please tell me in the comments below what you think. If you want more of these reviews, please let me know in the comments below. And if there are other films like this with a lot of layers that you think I should watch and review, please list those in the comments below as well. Until then, please like, share, and subscribe this video, and keep this channel rolling, and I will see you guys soon. Lock your doors and stay scared. Happy horror, everyone.